So today I just want to talk about one book that I just read and that I really enjoyed. And one would think that talking about one book isn't really that hard, but I think this is the billionth time that I start recording this, and I hope that this time I don't mumble myself into some kind of brain dead. Um, yeah, it already happened. So I'm just gonna get right into it. I want to talk about this book over here. I think I'm gonna put in the cover somewhere because this cover deserves to be looked at. This book is called Last Night at the Telegraph Club. It's written by Malinda Lo, who is a Chinese American author, and she's also written some other books. And I think I want to check them out as well because this book was really great. It is about Lily Hu, who's a Chinese American in 1950s San Francisco and who falls in love with another girl. And when I picked up this book, I didn't know that. I just picked up the book because I thought the cover was nice. I'm that simple, yes. And so I was pleasantly surprised when I read that the plot of this book is a lesbian romance. So Lily Hu, the protagonist Lily, she is a senior at high school and she's in her last year and she's thinking about what she wants to do next in life and where she wants to go, and she's really into math and science, so not what one would expect of a girl her age at that time. And people are like, yeah, but you're a woman, should you really do that? So you want to marry, right? You need to marry, you should get children, you should think about who you want to marry, and all that stuff. But she's like, no, I want to do math, I want to build a rocket, so that's her dream. She wants to work somewhere where they build rockets, and so she really works toward that goal. And in her class, advanced math, there's another girl called Kathleen or Kath, and she's also into math and she wants to be pilot. So those two girls, they don't really fit the norm, what is expected of women at that time, and they grow closer to each other and they kind of fall in love. So uh, it's this really sweet romance between those two girls who don't really fit in, and yeah, so the Telegraph Club that the title references to is a gay bar, a lesbian bar in San Francisco. And in the beginning of the story, Lily finds a newspaper and there's this advertisement for Tommy Andrews, a male impersonator who sings at that bar. So she's a very manly looking woman and she's really fascinated by that person. So she kind of takes out that advertisement and carries it around so that she can look at it, and she's really fascinated by that. And then she's at the bookstore and she finds a book where there's two women on the cover who are wearing like a negligee and some kind of kinky outfits, and she's also like, oh, what's that book about? And then she takes a look inside and she reads the book, and it's about those girls or those women who kind of have this raunchy love affair, and but then some clerk comes into the shop and she has to put that book away, shameful, because she can't have someone seeing her read that book because it's too scandalous. And then she goes out, but she's going home thinking about that book, and she's like, oh my god, what were those women going to do? And so those two things, and they really get her imagination going, and she's like, oh my god, that's possible? Is that possible? At one point she just drops that advertisement when she's in the toilet at school, and Kathleen comes in and she picks it up and she's like, oh, I have seen that person. And so Lily is like, oh, okay. And so she's wondering if Kathleen is just like those women, and that's where the plot starts. So they go to the Telegraph Club and they see those shows and get to meet other women from the community, and yeah, it's a really sweet romance, because those two girls, they're like, I really like the characters. They were all really nice, and she also has a family. She has an aunt who's also a scientist, and she influences her as well, and her family. And she has a friend who wants to do a beauty pageant, so they're not really similar, but they're friends. And all those people, they have their own opinions on things, and mm, it's really nice to see Lily navigate through all those kind of obstacles that are put in her way. And I thought so today, and I live in Germany, and homosexuality obviously isn't a crime, it's totally legal, and I don't want to know what it was like for people at that time to, so you have those feelings for, as a woman, for another woman, and you have to figure out what you want. Do you want to live live how your feelings want you to live, or just hide who you are because you can't really do it? It's not something you would do. But then in this book there's also examples of couples, female couples, um, who have a nice life, so they exist as well. So it's not just all horrible stuff that happens to them. And when I read the book, I was always like, oh, I just want those two women to live on a farm together as friends and be happy, and I just don't want them to be bothered. I just wanted them to be happy because I really like the characters. And yeah, so what I also liked about the book, because I don't read romance novels, as I said, I just picked it up because of the cover. And so usually romance stories tend to have that big misunderstanding between the two romance people, and I don't like that, because I'm always like, yeah, just talk, you stupid. Ugh, why don't you just talk to the other person? Uh, but in this book, there's no such thing. So there's not that stupid moment where someone's like, oh, but I thought you loved me, and the other's like, yeah, let me explain, and then the other one's like, no, and then she runs away, and they never talk, and it takes forever, and oh god, I hate that. So there's of course there's drama and there's problems in the book, but they don't come from those two women who are in love. So it's just from the outside. They get trouble from the outside, and they have to overcome that. But it's not that stupid plot of them misunderstanding each other, and I really like that. Yeah, so I think I'm gonna stop here, because if that book sounds like your cup of tea, you should pick it up. It's really good, and I really enjoyed it. Oh, one other thing. So, like I said, she's a Chinese American, so we get a glimpse into that Chinese American culture as well. And there's some chapters that are not from Lily's point of view, but from her mother's, her father's, and I think her aunt's. And they take place a little bit earlier, so when her parents met, or when her aunt takes her to a planetarium or something. And I think those are really interesting as well, because so her family is kind of they don't really um, obviously they want her to be a good Chinese daughter. They want her to go to school and go to college and then meet a guy, have a husband, have children, stuff like that. So they want her to be happy, and they are not like evil people. So as I said, it's not normal at the time to be a homosexual, and of course our parents are against it because it's unnatural, and but they're not evil, so you can see why they would think and talk the way they do. So I think that's really well done in the book as well. So they're not just like evil villains, and they're like, yeah, no, I will kill you because you yeah. So that's a really nice aspect as well. And yeah, I think this is a good book, and I think you should check it out if you're into LGBTQ plus romances, or romances at all, because it's just like a slow, pleasant romance, and I don't think counts, or it matters what your sexual preferences are. If you enjoy romance, I think you would enjoy this one. But I'm not a person who reads romance, so maybe this is the worst romance ever, and I just couldn't see it. But I don't think so, because it's a good book, and I really recommend it. And that's it for today. Just wanted to shout out this book, which I enjoyed. So maybe you do as well.